here we go with Antietam, the second out of the blue and gray quad proper, even though I don't have the quad, I have the folio. Here it is set up. I did a little bit of soul searching and decided to go ahead with the advanced optional role, whatever, in part because it is specifically addressed in the Antietam rules. I mean, I'm probably going to play each of these once, you know. I also had to do these myself, so at least the handwriting is consistent. There's like one or two counters the previous owner started to put the numbers on, put the hex, the setup numbers on, and then probably realized, screw it, it's totally unimportant. I can just go by the strength point of the units and just place them wherever the hell, you know, and not worry about the official designation. Given that I pay almost no attention to the designations during the game and they have no actual effect on play, that is a very reasonable decision, given that I'm OCD and can't stand the idea of playing, you know, when I have that information in this case. It definitely caused me some issues to just do that. I've done it with other games before. It's kind of my suggestion with Der Weltkrieg is screw the numbers, actually just use strength points. Okay, but anyway, I also put the strength points on them for the optional rules, which the previous owner obviously didn't use in any of the games. So what's special about this other than that it's Antietam? You know, like Shiloh, I'm not sure I've played one of my Antietam's on video. For that, again, CWB, I have the coverage of that. I don't know if I have another game on Antietam. I probably have the more recent Great Battles of the American Civil War. This one's going to have some reinforcements. The unit strengths, well, are fairly small, especially on the Confederate side, with one exception. There's a fucking division, which is treated just like any other counter in the game. Yeah, I don't understand the purpose behind that, but yep. So it's going to be a mighty attack capability from AP Hill that's just able to really throw its weight around in a way that other units in this system cannot. The victory conditions in this are 1 victory point for each enemy strength point eliminated. If Confederate units can't trace to hex 0126, which is probably this thing, yeah, their reinforcement hex, at the end of the game, they count as destroyed at that point. And there's additional victory points of, what is it, 15 points if you own all of Sharpsburg. Shouldn't we be calling this Sharpsburg then? Funny you should say that. Depends on where you're from. The level, well, basically, if the Union can break 1-1, they get a marginal victory. 1.5 to 1, they get substantial. 2 to 1, they get decisive. The Confederates cannot get a decisive, which I find a little disheartening because there's no real reason for it. I would say if they get 2 to 1 victory points, they deserve their decisive. But it's not even accepted as a possibility in this. Their schedules are a little lower. 1 to 1.25, 1.25 to 1.5, going for the substantial. But yeah, if they manage their 2 to 1, they fucking deserve it. They should not be able to get that. But honestly, they would get that if the Union doesn't attack. Okay. Because of command problems at Antietam, there's some special rules to handle that. The Union can't move all of his units on the first turn. He can move 15 of them. From then on, he can only move 10 of them. That's going to be kind of annoying to track and kind of hard to think about. But yeah, Union reinforcements arriving on turn 4 will not count against this restriction until they're, on the board. However, if the Confederates cross the creek itself, the Union's freed of its restrictions. It's allowed to undertake its full operations for the rest of the game. And there's no reason for them to do that, usually. The Confederates have a number of units that I've got facing this way instead of this way, if you know what I mean. Those guys can't move on the first turn. They're not very awake yet. All right. The Union has some rifled artillery. Now, this is strange, the way it's worded. Union artillery units are immobile. Once placed, they may not be moved during the course of the game. Well, I guess placed means set up at the beginning of play, which is a fixed hex. Why does it just not say they can never move? They're not affected by retreat results if they're attacked only by enemy artillery. Otherwise, though, they're eliminated if they have to retreat. The artillery works just like normal artillery, except it has a range of 7 hexes. Now, you start looking at this map and you say, well, there's a lot of, hills and stuff. No, those aren't hills. Those are just rough terrain. Technically, there should be some line of sight issues. The woods and the town are the only actual ones. Those brown things, they're not going to affect it. Okay, for the optional rule, what do we got? Oh, yeah, so they've got a series of what-if scenarios. I'm not going to play any of those, but they give you, some additional forces, additional flexibility with your forces that you have. The Union, for example, gets additional reinforcements. Okay. I was making sure that the turn 16 reinforcement wasn't, or the 16 strength point AP hill unit wasn't an optional reinforcement. That would suck. But it's just Union. And they have a roll to come in. Okay, so like I said, there's a special modifier to the attack effectiveness optional roll. There's no night. Time isn't fixed in this system. Other things are. Time's not. That's odd. At the beginning of, and there's no times on here either, so it may be even more abstract than it seems, but yeah, the length of days seems to be a little different. During your beginning of your friendly combat phase, you roll a die for your ineffective units. If you succeed in rolling a 1, you will be allowed to attack at that point. You're flipped back over and you're a normal unit. So you've got some chance of things fighting, even though they're not marked as such. And because of that roll, I decided we're definitely going to play with the optional roll, because at least they put some thought into how the optional rule is going to affect the battle. I felt like at Shiloh, it really overly limited activity. Now at Antietam, you had so many command problems that units that don't have the capacity to attack is not at all an unreasonable thing anyway. And we'll start this up probably sometime tonight. I don't know. I gotta play my stupid video. We're not going to talk about it, okay? It's very embarrassing what I'm playing. Okay, finally actually getting down to playing this. A number of reasons not to. Mainly my depression. Which isn't really too bad. It's just keeping me from doing, like I'm working and stuff like that. It's just keeping me from doing gaming and other things. So it's kind of a low level of depression here. But anyway, the weird thing here is, well, the Union can only move 15 of their pieces on the first turn and 10 from then on. So I'm launching attacks across the bridges and then kind of as broad a front as I can manage over here to put some pressure on the Confederates. Now I got to be careful because artillery all over the board can throw itself into fights. So like this gun is going to support that. But I don't know where I'm going to use the other guns, and I'm not sure I can find them all, But basically they have a 7 hex range, which is pretty damn impressive. Union got a fair amount of luck all across the board. All the bridges crossed, and you know, in some cases we've got an engagement now. Over here we managed to eliminate. We took one nasty exchange, but where we actually lost points, but otherwise we actually got some gains surrounding a unit so it couldn't retreat, and then attacking it just on 3-1 so we can't take big losses. Stuff we learned from the Shiloh game, that the player's notes or whatever in this don't really give the same kind of suggestions. I found the Shiloh gave some nice suggestions on how to utilize this system, which is kind of cool because I'm stupid as shit, right? I can't figure out how to do things correctly in so many games, even if I know the rules. All right, so let's go on with the Confederate side of the turn. Now they've got much more limited restrictions. Basically, these guys can't do anything, so they're gonna be able to come all out, but they aren't really as attack capable. The Union's got much bigger units and lots of them. They just can't use them all. We're going to try to minimize the damage. Decent attacks here and here. Try to push the Union back towards the bridges. Keep those bridgeheads small, just so that, I don't know. If they can open up where they have a lot of different options where to attack, it's going to be tougher for the Confederates to defend Sharpsburg. And then over here, well, we're forced into a couple of attacks, but otherwise trying to create a good defensive line. Confederates have successfully beaten the Union unit back here. Now I've got to decide if I want to defend this space. It's kind of a weird situation. First of all, I could defend it real well by throwing my 10-point infantry in there. The Union probably isn't going to bust through that. Of course, that ties down that unit. And then also, they can do a 1-2 attack without too much trouble. If they throw a couple artillery, they could get it to 1-1 and maybe push it around. Okay, not big deal there. But I guess the big deal is this space is hell to be in for the Union. So if they want to push forward, they can go there, but they could curve around and start causing some problems that way. If I'm here, though, and there's not a retreat, I don't know if that's possible. There's exchanges. Yeah, I think I want to go in there with the big unit. It's a hard decision because of the danger of being forced to counterattack later. But I think forcing the Union to attack at low odds, they either end up in the kill zone again, or the Confederates have a blank space and they can actually bring more defenses in here and make it harder to take. Confederates too are able to do successful attacks here. I again pinned this unit, but I didn't move forward here where I busted them back. I got some lucky rolls on the 1-1s. I could have extended into here with weaker forces. I think that weakens my position overall. It's hard for me to think in this game. You know, strong points aren't necessarily as important because you're probably just going to retreat. But exchanges are the danger. Exchanges or actual losses are the danger. And I'm worried by exposing units. The Union's going to be able to hit me. Make them move if they want to attack is, I think, a good general rule. Here they're getting free attacks with 4 units. You know, which means bringing other units up into place will be a cheaper prospect. Now they've got the big guns back here to help support as well. Here, though, the Confederates were driven back. Now, does the Union want to advance? I think the answer is yes, because of the free attack capability. Not a normal. It's not normally what you would do in this system, but the rules in this one make it more interesting. I've turned these guys over so that, you know, we remember they're available. And whew, somehow this type of game drains me morally in a weird sort of way. So now with only 10 units to move each turn, Union's trying to do all kind of complicated maneuvering because honestly they just can't get a grip on where the Confederates need to get hit. So I'm going to try to make a breach at this bridge. Here I don't have much hope, but I'm at least trying to put a little bit more weight here, brought some more units down here, but not doing a lot of attacking this turn, just trying to get some units up near the front. Nothing terrible happened. Shit, I had an attack or retreat and I forgot to flip units during it, I think. Something for the Confederates. That's probably this guy. But other than that, I think they succeeded everywhere. Anyway, the Unions succeeded everywhere where they're hitting, to some extent. Nothing too dramatic, pushing forward, but they're going to get shoved back, right? The question comes down, do I want to use the 4-1 at the risk of the additional exchange when I'm losing maybe twice as many points on that exchange, just to go for the attrition value? The game suggests yes. I'm loath to make that kind of trade, but there aren't a lot of turns, so maybe I should be. I think that I can do this using cleverness and strategy, but it's fucking Antietam, It's just going to be bloody. The system actually provides some kind of value to reserves. I could have thrown a unit on the line here, but then there's a danger of that all being pinned down and not mobile and not able to reinforce where needed. It's limited. It's very limited. Most wargame systems don't really give reserves the requirement they need. I haven't done my attacks yet. I probably should, but I'm just trying to push the Union back where I can. An exciting thing came out of the shoving match. The Confederates largely successful. They pushed here. They didn't force an engagement there. 2-1, it's just going to be more shoving. Yeah, I might as well. What the hell? Might as well. All right. Over here, though, they killed the 7-point Union unit. That's going to be a significant change in the balance of power here. This is going to be very ugly to take, and it probably will free up some units to help defend the river crossing, the fords that are present. Focusing attacks, they're trying to slip through here, but for the most part, they've got to make this attack, they've got to make this attack. I'm trying to break things over here and over here and see what comes of it. I don't expect much. I really don't, because these limitations make it very, very hard to commit to the kind of assault that would be needed. The all-out assault to take Sharpsburg. Largely a string of good rolls by the Union across the river. I don't know how wise this is, but because this is how I got myself hurt before. Pushing into the rough terrain here, pushing in the woods here. One retreat down at the bottom, not pursued. And I gotta remember to make a roll for this guy to recover. I think I forgot last turn. Takes a 1 to come back. So we'll give him 2 dice, 2 opportunities, because I think I forgot last time, but he didn't get it on either, so that's fine. Alright, well, largely the rebels got driven back, although they did succeed here. They didn't move forward there. Did I launch attacks here? It almost looks like I didn't. It's really hard to remember shit in this game. Yeah, I'll try to figure that out. But right now, over here, they paid an expensive price for this hex on an exchange. They only lost 1 extra point, but they're low on troops. They don't have a lot of pieces. So if the Union can get some pieces near where they can kind of outflank Confederate forces or something, they can really start trimming stuff down. And that's the real worry that the Confederates have. It's not so much that their line's just going to fall apart anywhere, but which can happen in the Avalon Hill style of these games with their much bloodier combat results table. But these shoving matches that the SPI games turn into, they feel like musket and pike rather than ACW in some ways, but they do actually represent things well enough, I think, for what they're doing. It's just there's not a lot of flavor to it. But yeah, they definitely, that was not they would have rather a retreat and just keep shoving back and forth. I don't know what's going on here, why these guys are stuck there without any support. I'm trying to figure out if I just failed to attack when I had to, in which case I've got to do a couple of attacks there that are not good. That's a 1-2. That's a 1-2. Those aren't going to be great. They didn't turn out great. I succeeded in one with a retreat, but I took an elimination on the other. Not a result you want at all. Because now the Union was able to advance into there, and this unit's in a lot of trouble. This unit's probably going to get attacked. Yeah. Problem, though, especially with pushing into here, is I've got a lot of attacks to support right now. Yeah, these guys move on for free, but they're not going to be involved in any of it. So, and I need to do it. I mean, I can't just give up the units that are attacking. But I got attacks here, here, and these two, all of which I have to do something about with only 10 moves. Some place isn't going to get the attention that it needs. I feel like I have to not lose these units, so I threw in, that was just one unit moved, a lot of artillery supporting it. Over here, hey, lots of good attacks. 2-1 or better. But here, I'm starting to get into trouble. The one place where I've got a really good chance of wiping the enemy out or hurting myself, I'm down to a 1-1 attack. If I plow this first and I get there, that's a 3-1. I might be able to get out of there. But maybe I would have been better off only going 2-1 in here. And let's see, 13, yeah, let's do this instead. That's the kind of thing you can't do by the rules because, you know, this is one of those, if you touch a piece, you move it. It's not, but if you let your fingers off a piece, it's set where it is, you know. Big difference between this and chess. In chess, where the same rule applies, well, you're not going to be doing lots of things in a row. Here, you're moving lots of pieces in a row. Of course, it can be kind of a pain because maybe you couldn't get there or whatever, retracing your pieces. But I think any reasonable players usually don't follow that kind of bullshit rule. I can see it at a tournament where you don't know each other. But under normal play circumstances, what the hell. And the pushing match at the bridge is over. The Union's gotten shoved back. That probably means the Confederates can defend this more lightly and use that big 10-point unit for something else. And it looks like they're going to need that something else because things are getting ugly over here. I certainly didn't want to cross the river, and there's just no, first of all, that causes all kind of problems. It frees the Union up from all their restrictions. But beyond that, even if there wasn't a strategic implication to what that would do to McClellan, the psychological implication probably, then, you know, it still would be throwing my unit into unneeded risk. But over here, you can see the Union's made some shove. And you know what? I bet you those Confederate attacks, nah, they weren't advances. I did not advance. Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking. Maybe I screwed up. It's really easy for me in this kind of thing. Anyway, the Confederates look like they have a lot of attacks. They've got these guys down here who are going to have to retreat if they can't come up with some sort of... If someone can't come up with an attack on this unit, and I don't really think I want to. I don't have a lot of forces available there. But Sharpsburg's looking endangered at this point. And I hope it provides some defensive benefit. Yeah, defenders doubled there. Units can become attack effective again, and so we got a 1-1 there. That might help a little bit. The Confederate effort for trying to prevent this breakthrough east of the town, which looks very dangerous, which means pulling back a little over here, and a little over here as well. But this should be fairly safe. This I'm a little worried about, but that's the best I can manage, because I'm still engaged. That's part of the problem. And the Confederate attacks here where I was focused are largely unsuccessful. These guys had a 2-1 on this. I could have possibly killed this unit if I had succeeded in that advance, but that didn't happen. I did get retreated, but I also got retreated here, and the Union advanced there. They didn't advance with this one. and clearly I'm not going to advance. Even though normally you advance as the attacker in this system, this particular game has some little differences to how you want to play it, I think. The Confederates are so much weaker, they definitely don't want to go into a kill space like that. That's just asking for it. So, plus, I had seen what happens. I had seen that these guys, that the victory here, but the Union defensive victory here and here, and this becomes much, much less attractive at that point. The neat thing is you get kind of picket forces showing up, just sitting in places, but for all the wrong reasons. It's because the Union are not allowed to move now. Not exactly appealing there, but that's not what this is meant to represent. What this is meant to represent is the large force that can't move forward and engage because McClellan's too worried about a flanking force, even though there's no possibility of such. But he didn't know that. He had his delusions. Union having a hard time getting an attack together, but we're coordinating as much as we can right here in the center, seeing if we can break through. I don't know what our points are like, I don't really pay attention to that, right? 8, 14, 20, 26, 34, to 33, no, to 23. But then Sharpsburg is going to put the Confederates over. I think victory conditions are just even, right? Yeah. You can get kind of a marginal victory if you can beat the other person's victory points. Well, the die rolls weren't terribly good. The Union got shoved back here, for example. The results aren't bad. I've got this cut off where if we don't dislodge this unit, these guys are going to be forced to retreat where they can't and therefore die. Over here, we're getting pretty close to the town of Sharpsburg. If we can take even one hex of that, that's a big deal because that's a 15-point swing. If we can take all of it, it's a 30-point swing, which pretty much guarantees a major victory, I think, for the Union unless they get themselves mauled. So we're doing pretty damn well right now, it looks like. But we'll see whether the Rebs can turn this around at all. This is going to be hard to move out of there, which means that Confederate units are going to start fleeing from Sharpsburg. I screwed up. I thought I had a good position here. I don't know if I screwed up earlier, but I was just noticed the Union's right across the stream from me here where I'm trying to launch an attack, and that's not going to work. I'm kind of cut off in an ugly position. I think there was an advance here and that this was kind of protected. But yeah, this is now engaged there, and that just showed up, Hey, sometimes war has a fog element to it, right? Well, usually it comes about in these games due to mistakes, and I don't mind them that much because of that, but it can be really annoying if you're looking at it as too competitive an exercise. These guys punch through, but now I've got to deal with this, and I didn't even realize I had this attack here that I had to make. That's 6 to 8. That's going to be 1 to 2. That means this is only a 1 to 1 that I thought I was getting a 2 to 1 with a chance to kill that unit. And the results of all of this, Confederates advancing in a couple of places, but then getting pushed back over here, is that there's a lot of Confederate units that are at dire risk at this point. So it should be an interesting turn next turn. Hill's coming on soon, though. Comes on down here with his huge division that can just, I don't know, it can get killed with one exchange if it's not careful. But that's a big, big unit. Just like, well, we got another division over here. J.G. Walker, I guess. It's even setting up some kind of dangerous, this attack that could have forced into. That's 1 to 3, and it's kind of hell, but we'll see. Maybe they survive. I doubt it. They might get an attacker retreat. That's fairly likely. They might get a defender retreat, which would be awesome, but they might get an attacker retreat, which if things are cleared here, they can get out, but otherwise they're pretty much doomed. We're launching an attack over here, try to get around here. It's not a good attack, it's 1 to 1. Over here we're doing a 1 to 2, which is some danger again. with an attacker eliminated, but I can probably just pull back here. And what it does is it keeps this guy from retreating. He's being attacked at fairly low odds. 2-1 or 3-1 maybe. And it kind of directs this guy into a worse position. So we should be able to get some neat results. We want to get into Sharpsburg. We're having a little trouble getting by here right now. It looked good, but I think we need a little more oomph, and we need to be a little more aggressive than we've been being. Well, that turn went pretty well. Our most risked unit got away, damaged, fatigued, whatever. Over here we made the crossing, and over here we pushed forward everywhere, basically. Killed a few Confederate units. That's adding to our body count. If we can just get into Sharpsburg, I feel like we have a guaranteed victory. If we can capture it, well, then it's a big victory. There's not a lot of Confederate forces to fight right now, but here we're forced, so we threw extra forces in. We pulled back from the river line here. That's going to allow more Union through, but there's only, so much we can do with so few units. Now, if we weren't playing with the fatigue rules or battle ineffectiveness or whatever, maybe we'd be able to do a little more, but I don't know. This is a harsh game. You really want to kind of find your key points and attack them, and where you're forced to attack because somebody else launched the attack, you got to keep reinforcing that or working with that however you can. So there are some decent-sized Confederate units. There might be an attack somewhere that would have otherwise been made. Certainly would have been reinforcement to this. But it feels like the optional rule is working pretty well on this one, especially with that random recovery. And it's a little more likely than once per day, once at the end of the day. And the fact that it's kind of random, I really do like that. I like randomness in my games. And it's an important enough element that it has a real effect. Hey, my big unit recovered. Awesome. Things didn't go well for the rebels. They regained here. That pins down a couple of units, big units, prevents an attack from coming this way. I'll be able to pull the majority of my force back. I might leave another unit there, leave something here to help defend the bridge line. But that's causing real problems for the Union being able to slip around the back. At least there's that. But here we got shoved back everywhere. No advances by the Union. It's hard to overcome your never advance on as the defender, because which is allowed. It's usually not allowed in games anyway. So, but then remembering that you can do it, but then there's a dictum really not to in this design in most of the battles. But the restrictions on the Union make it pretty damn clear it might be your best way to get units forward on the line. I did not do so, though. This guy got shoved back, I think. But here, I could have gone in there. That would have gotten me an extra unit in there. Do I want it, though? Yes, it's Sharpsburg, but I'm facing the Big Ten in there. So that's a 26 I'd have to hit. Good luck with that, maybe I can get a 2-1 if I take everything around it. It'll get out of there before then. On the bright side, though, my points are looking pretty good, I think. Although those Union units are a lot bigger. But we haven't lost a Union unit in a while. And the Confederates keep taking losses. They were about even before, so yeah. We'll face that big unit directly. We're chipping at the flanks. It's the best we can do, really. Right up here, not so good over here. Thrown back. It's okay in a way. I don't really see much advantage to this. This was just, wow, if we're going to launch an attack, that's about the only remaining place. And the other option would be to try to move more forces up that I'm not sure I could really use. And I guess I could get some more in here and try to punch my way through there. But anyway, flung back kind of ingloriously. We weren't really able to help much on the units that are lined up for attack. Pulling back a little bit here. Get a little bit more strength where we look weakest. Got AP Hill's big force coming on. See if that's going to be able to do anything that will help us significantly. Let's see how the attacks go. Where it's not important, the attacks always seem to work well. But over here, not so good for the Confederates. The Union did not advance. No real reason to. I don't want to be in this space. I'm not going to be making an attack on this unit that involves bringing these guys in. So that was a pretty easy decision to make. And these were the two spaces I could go to. Neither one is appealing. Union didn't get any recovery. I'm focusing over here, although I am making an attack here. It's wrong. All that artillery, and I get a 1-to-1. If I can force them to retreat, I can put them in a position where maybe they have to attack where they really can't get good odds, because there aren't a lot of attack-capable Confederate units. So, because otherwise I'm having a really hard time breaking this line, so I got to go up against the front of it. Now here, maybe I get an opportunity this way, but this bad boy's coming on. It's a failure for the Union. Pushed back in the center. A lot of my firepower is gone now, basically, in terms of breaking that line. Over here, we got some advance, but we also got flung back with our... we needed this attack in order to destroy the units there. We got an exchange instead, which wasn't very good. Kind of allocated the strength maybe not as well as possible. If we had gotten the exchange first, we would have had a chance of destroying this, so that might have been a better move, but yeah. The Confederates are going to come back. This is forced. They're actually taking an opportunity to hit this here. I'm not quite sure why. If they push it back, they make life a little harder on the Union, that's all. But if they get flung back, that's going to weaken their position quite a bit, actually. So it might not be wise. Rebels get lucky in both their little attacks. Both were 1-to-1s, and they push the Union back in both cases, which means the Union's going to have to expend an extra point to move a unit into an attack position, assuming that they have enough force down here to do anything worthwhile, although here they probably do. It's not a good place to be, even though it pins those units. Let me count points and make a decision, because I might advance this guy into there. It's got its problems, but beyond that, nobody recovered, so yeah, everybody's kind of pooped out. It's near the end of the battle, right? The day's almost over. We can stop, right? I am going to count and make sure. I might take that back. I'll come back if I do. Basically, the point is, if the Confederates are close enough to victory that Sharpsburg is the only thing that really matters, then pinning these guys is of more value than that 3-point unit. The points are as bad as they look. Confederates are about 20, I think they're 26 points behind. I don't know if that qualifies as an about, about 25, but I counted it and I think it's 26 points behind. This is worth 15, which, with the amount of death there is, that's going to come out as a marginal victory for the Union as it stands. But if Sharpsburg falls, the difference... that light seems to be up to something. I just installed those when I moved in. They're supposed to last for like 8,000 years or something. It's a pain in the ass because I have a big ladder to get up there. And it's hard to get up these spiral stairs and all kind of crap like that. And then that's the scariest of them. I wasn't willing to touch the light that's further beyond that. That was too scary for me, being that close to the edge of the thing. Yeah. I have a heights issue. But wow. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I think it's probably pretty close to over. The only question is, how big a victory can the Union pull off out of this? I think that's the bulb at fault, to tell you the truth, unless something really weird, because those are non-dimmable LEDs, and that's why these guys are there. But if I turn them down power-wise a little bit, they all start doing that. So it's almost as if not enough juice is getting up there on that one. And all that flickering is probably going to burn it out real soon, though. I don't know. All right, the Union's funneling more troops up for whatever reason, but we're launching an attack mainly on this space, because if we can get in here, we can force counterattacks and maybe open up a chance to get part of Sharpsburg. If we get part of it, I think I said there was like a 26-point difference. That's pretty big. That may be enough to get us to a more substantial victory than we're looking at otherwise. And we're also looking to cut here to kind of cause problems and cut this guy off. And just maybe if something wakes up, we can do some good shit, whatever. As it is, it's going to be very hard for this unit to retreat if that's the case. Look, the difference. We didn't get this one. That's not too important. But we did get this, and that's going to cause Rebs some problems. Of course, they got their huge unit coming up, so maybe they'll be able to stop this tide just in time. And the Confederates doing everything they can to foil that. This is all they have for an attack. That's going to be a 1-2. That big guy, he couldn't do anything useful. He was just going to open up more attacks. This could be a pretty big moment in the game, so let's roll the die on it. I don't have any artillery kicking around. It's not stuck. And that's not good. Attacker eliminated. This unit did not attack. So it retreats. It's not allowed to. And the Union obviously has no real reason to advance, except to get more units on here, which isn't a terrible location. So let me think about whether I want to push a unit forward there. Worst comes to worst, that's a 1-to-1 attack. So I think we'll move forward because that's a unit we don't have to move that can launch an attack. And I could end up with a 2-to-1 there and just start chipping away. The problem is, it's the last turn of the game, so I don't know if it matters too much. But, yeah, might as well. So the Union's massing everything for a 1-to-1 there. Only way that I got to get into... Oh, shit. I screwed up. Oops. These guys are not going to be able to do what I wanted. I thought they could attack here and here, but they're not going to be able to do that. So I don't know about these. One was probably here, and I think one was here. I gotta think, because that gives me 2 more moves. If I go in here, I'm just gonna fail. I don't know where else I can find 2 more moves. I'll tell you what, we'll just penalize them, those actions, and let them take the unit back. We can, there's one. Actually, I've got a good use for 2 more moves. If I can get 20 strength points in here, which is possible, then I've got better odds on this and can probably kill those. Anyway, I'm making an attack here to try to destroy these units. Attack here, but I'm really unlikely to get anywhere into Sharpsburg. However, if I attack into here, I force the Confederates to attack me, and they may be forced to retreat out of there, in which case I can advance and get my bonus that way. That's the only advantage I have, but it's not a good chance. And then I've got a low odds chance of getting in that way. I'm killing these guys off here. The Union attacks were a failure. That means the Confederates get one more chance to try to even things up. I'm not going to worry about trying to, can I barely make the victory points with these low odds attacks or anything like that. I don't want to play that way. That isn't sensible. It's last turn behavior, edge of the map type stuff. It ruins games as far as I'm concerned. The problem is I have this big 16 strength point unit. Now I could put that here and get a 4-to-1, throw another 3 strength points in and still have a 4-to-1. I can't get that up to even 5-to-1. And even at 3-to-1, I'm looking at exchanges. So I don't see a terribly easy way. I don't see a way that I can use that big 16-point unit to do anything effective that's not too high a risk. Now again, if I balanced out the victory points and said, I'm 4 points short of, a minor victory, yeah, I might chance it, but again, if you believe that this 16 could be destroyed attacking this 4, whatever, if you buy into that reality, you got to buy into the reality that division has been so hosed by that bad attack and couldn't take partial losses or anything. Somehow it's an integral unit that can be destroyed by an exchange. If you buy into the reality that the game poses, you kind of have to say, well, the marginal victory is not worth it. You could argue, well, you should buy into the idea that the marginal victory means something. You know what? I forgot to roll. Maybe I've got some units that work. Hold on. I did. I got a 4-point unit. That's good enough. That gets me an exchange I'm willing to take. It won't hurt me at all. Here I got a 1-to-1. Nothing interesting happens from a 1-to-1. Defender retreats. I could advance if I want. It's the end of the game. Who cares? And there's a 20-to-4 is a 5-to-1. I'm willing to take the exchange if need be, but I don't get that. I get a defender retreat. And the Union's able to slip away. Again, I'm not going to advance. Although, if I was playing, the next turn, I would certainly go into here, but the battle's over. It's time to count the losses. Confederates are getting a 15-point bonus for Sharpsburg. With proportional numbers, I'm trying to do this, as a net zero. No, I can't do that. I got to actually count the actual total number of victory points and see what the proportion is going to be. Up at 75-48. Continental divide score on there, I think. On the Union side, 1.5-to-1, but less than 2-to-1 sounds about right. Barely. So yeah, that's a substantial victory for the Union. And yeah, it sure looks like it. I didn't feel like the game was being damaged in the way the Shiloh one was by the optional rule. Maybe in part because of the randomness of it. Certainly in part, shit, that damn light's still fucking around. Certainly because of the fact that the Union couldn't move all of their forces anyway, so fatigued units, whatever, demoralized units weren't really all that helpful. It might have hurt the Confederate position, but there aren't a lot of opportunities for the Confederates to make good counterattacks. However, it does weaken them on their defense because a flipped over unit, well, now I can go in against that on an advance, and it's going to take up space and not help on the attack. So that might actually be maybe the game was balanced without that, and it became a little unbalanced by employing that rule. It's kind of funny to give an option like that. It's more historical, right? Well, it does seem it, but, did the Union get too far because of that rule? Was the game carefully crafted to be balanced under one of the two sets of rules? It seems highly unlikely that it was balanced under both of them, and that's one kind of neat thing you have with some more modern games, like, if you're looking at a CWB series game or something. It'll say, well, you add this option that makes this. Well, you have options in this as well, combat options, rules, special options for this scenario, as opposed to this, which is a general rule option, which may or may not favor, which is going to favor one side or another in almost any scenario. And the question is, how much did it help? I think the Union was overall helped by it, and look, they did better than they did historically. There's a reason to point to that. I didn't feel like there was a whole hell of a lot I could have done better with the Confederates on defense. I'm sure there was. I'm bad at attacking, and part of defense in these games is attacking too. So I don't know, but yeah, it's one of the issues. Even like Victory in the Pacific, when they add the historical realism type options to the game, those often have, well, this gives a victory point advantage to one side or the other. And so if the game was carefully crafted to be a balanced game, and I'm not saying this was one way or the other, I can't tell you that at all. This is the only time I've played it, and I played it with this option. It does feel, though, that option probably favored the Union, and hey, look, the Union won, so maybe it's more balanced otherwise. Maybe I just played poorly and it's more balanced this way. Who knows? I would give my leaning towards it being more balanced without the optional rule. And that, so the rule doesn't actually add historical realism, because the more balanced situation is probably the more historically accurate outcome. It's just some of the weird shit that happens in game design. Anyway, let me send this up, and ideally what there would be is some kind of point modifier. Well, no, that doesn't make sense, because the historical situation isn't what happens here. We've got the Union advancing more strenuously than they did historically. So the historical option of adding this extra detail actually just breaks the game if my gut feelings are correct. And damn, that light's really bugging me. All right, let's send this.